Sheets is traditionally viewed as a data collection and organizational tool, and it can be used for so many amazing ways in your classroom. Think of gradebooks, data collection in a science classroom, a resource management, inventory. It is an exceptionally flexible and powerful tool, and I can't wait to explore all the ways to use it with you today. There are several different ways that you can start a new Google Sheet. All of these, which are will be stored in your Google Drive. I can click on the waffle from using Chrome and choose Google Sheets from here. I can also open a new tab and simply type in sheets.new. But my favorite and recommended way is to always start a new document from within your Google Drive. I can click on New, and notice you will find all of the Google apps here. If I click on the arrow beside Google Sheets, notice I can start from a blank spreadsheet, or I can choose from a template. When I choose from a template, I don't always use these, but sometimes I use them as inspiration. For example, you can use Sheets as to take attendance or to track classroom happenings. I could create a grade book, use this for an assignment tracker, create a calendar, so many different ideas. And I love to look at these for inspiration for maybe color or theme ideas. Another thing you'll notice when you open up Google Sheets is that your recent spreadsheets will appear. And if I look at the top, these are searchable as well. I can also look for sheets that are owned by me, or maybe I want to look for one that I know someone shared with me that I want to work with, but I know it's not owned by me. These can be alphabetized. You can sort them by recent date or by title as well. When you start a new Google Sheet, it's just like using docs or slides. In the top left-hand corner, we need to give this a title. And from here, I could choose to star this to add it to my favorites in Drive, and I can even go ahead and organize this into a folder. If you don't have a folder yet, you want it to go in, notice you can create one from here, but maybe I want to go ahead and put mine in a folder I already have. So this is just a quick way to go ahead and organize that. So everything that you create in Sheets is saving automatically. And when I'm ready to start, I can tell that Sheets is comprised of cells, columns, and rows. Columns are labeled alphabetically, and my rows are labeled numerically. If I want to select an entire column, I just click on it. Notice it's selecting the entire thing. This will come in handy today. If I want to select a row, an entire row, I just click on the number of the row. If I want to select my entire table, I click on this little button in the top left corner and it will select everything in my spreadsheet. To add data to the spreadsheet, pretty easy. You just click in a cell and type in it. Or I can click in a cell and even type in this box above. So I'm quickly just setting up a spreadsheet for us to work with today. Okay, so you'll notice that once I have my text inputted, I have options just like other editors, and these are the ones I'm going to be working with today. I can change the type of the text, the size of the text, make it bold, italicized, strike through, change the color of my font. I can even fill in a cell. For example, if I know I want row 1, which is going to become my header row, to stand out, I can come up, click on the paint bucket, and refill that entire row. Another option is to add borders to your data. So Google Sheets is endless. I can scroll down into the thousands, and the same thing if I move over to the right. So maybe I just want to make this much stand out. If I select the columns and rows and click on borders, notice I have some different options. Maybe you want just the outside border to show, or maybe everything on the inside. You can even change the color of your border here. Sheets is a powerful organizational tool. If you look at the bottom, you can see that I've added extra pages to this, so I can keep all kinds of different data in one place, but I can divide it into tabs or pages. To add a tab, you click on the plus sign, and it will add the tab or a new sheet immediately after the sheet that you're currently on. If I don't want this one here, I can just quickly click and drag it and put it where I would like it. They number automatically. If you want to change that so that it's easy to find your information, click on the drop-down arrow. Notice you have options to delete the sheet. Maybe you want to duplicate the sheet to work with that data in a different way. You can copy it to a new spreadsheet or an existing spreadsheet. I can rename it here. Another organizational trick is I can change the color of that specific tab. And so while that might just, it doesn't mean I just want to make it look pretty, although it does. It also helps me group and organize. Maybe I want to make all of my tabs that have grades in them a certain color. And maybe when I create charts, I want to make them a certain color. So just a quick and easy way to differentiate your tabs and help find them quickly. If I want to see all of them at one time, especially if I have like 50 tabs, there's no way they would fit all along the bottom. I can click on these lines and it will give me a list of all of my sheets. And I can pick one from here. So once I'm in a sheet, there are a couple of other things I can do. Let's pretend that this list goes on and on and on. Maybe I have 50 students in this class and I want to come down and see this student and I want to see what they scored on a particular test. But I don't know which one it is unless I come up and look and try to remember which activity that was. So I might want to freeze this row exactly where it is. I can do that a couple of ways. I can click on View and Freeze, View and Freeze a row, one row, or maybe two rows, or up to the current row. Or a shortcut is to drag, see how there are these two dark lines. If I click and hold and drag that down, it has now frozen row number 1. So now as I scroll down, row 1 stays in place. I can do the same thing with columns. Maybe I have 30 grades and I want to go over and look at grade number 30 or activity number 30. I can again click on this darker line, drag it over and drop it, and I now have frozen column A. So as I scroll over, column A stays and I can see what the students scored on a particular activity. So freezing rows is a handy feature. Sorting your data is a great idea, especially if you wanted to put your students in alphabetical order. Maybe you want to get ready to put these scores into Infinite Campus. So I'm going to click on column A this time because these are my students, and if I click on the drop down arrow, notice you have more options. This is where you would insert a new column or delete a column, hide a column. You can even group columns together, but from here I'm going to choose Sort Sheet A to Z. And as I do that, it alphabetized my students and it kept their grades with them automatically. So I'm going to click Undo just so you can see it again. Notice Big Bird at the bottom. He has all hundreds, so it will be easy to check Big Bird. Click on column A, drop down arrow, Sort Sheet A to Z, and I can see it brought Big Bird's grades with him. Sometimes maybe you don't want to keep the column with, or keep your data with this particular column. If you just want to filter by this range, you would select your column, click on Data, and instead of sorting your entire sheet, you only want to sort that range. So now it put these from A to Z, column D, but it left column A where it was. Filtering is another way to look at only what you want to see at the time. Let's say I only wanted to see a particular house in this Hogwarts class. So I'm going to select the column and come up and click on this little icon. It looks like a funnel. It's a filter. When I click on it, it allows me to now come back over and choose these little green square. And I can now, maybe I want to clear the filter, and I can choose what only I want to see. So maybe I only want to see those that are in Gryffindor. So it now is giving me a new view, and I'm only seeing students in Gryffindor. I can even come in now and just filter my Gryffindor students. You can also use this with numbers. Maybe I wanted to see who had the highest percentage in potions. So if I click on the drop down arrow, instead of sorting from A to Z, this time I want to sort Z to A. And that will show me who had the highest percentage in that specific column, and it's sorted from highest to lowest. To turn the filter view off, I can cancel this, or I can just come up and click on the filter again, and it will take me back to all of my data. Sometimes you may want to see your data in a visual way rather than just numbers. I'm going to do that by inserting a chart. I'm going to select all of my data. Just hold down and select it, and I could either click on Insert and Chart, or I can come up and just click on this little Insert Chart icon from my toolbar. So when it gives me my chart, I can do all kinds of things with it. I can resize it, I can move it around so that it's not on top of my data. Whenever I click on my chart, notice I get a chart editor that pops up. And so with this, you can change what your chart looks like. So maybe I would a bar chart instead. You also have the ability to come in and change your X and Y axes. You can change colors. You can edit this to make it fit your needs. So right now my chart is on my data. And if I come up and share this spreadsheet, let's talk about sharing for a minute. If I share, then I could add people to this. Maybe I wanted to add a coworker so that they would have the ability to come in and see my data, or maybe I want them to edit. Notice this does work with our directory, so once you start to type in their name, their email would populate. I could notify the person, even send a message, maybe, hey, check this out, or these are our test scores from this week, or this is the data we need to look at for this upcoming project. I can choose, is this person only going to be able to see it, if they can leave comments, or if they are an editor, and if they could make changes or not. Another option I have is I could get a link to share this through another way. Maybe I wanted to send it out through an Infinite Campus email, or Remind, or put it on a website. So I could, by default, right now it's saying that anyone on the internet with this link can view. Usually it will always say it's anyone at Fayette County Public Schools can view. So make sure if you want it locked down, you choose anyone with Fayette County Schools, but I can click done. And if I turn around and share that link, anybody who has the link could log in and see my spreadsheet, including all of my different tabs. Maybe you don't want them to have access to everything. Maybe I only want them to see this chart. Here's a great trick. Once I click on my chart and click on the three dots, I have all of these different options. I could edit the chart, delete it, download it. That's another way to share. You could download it and attach it in another way. I could publish it. I'm not going to do that just yet. I want to move this chart to its own sheet. So you'll notice at the bottom, it now added this as a new tab. It called it Chart 4. Remember to rename, click on the drop down arrow, and I could rename this, and I'm going to name it Hogwarts Chart. Okay, so now that I'm on my chart page, notice I have new options at the top. I could copy it, edit it. This time I'm going to choose Publish Chart. And as I do this, it's asking me, I can tell that I'm on the tab that's chart 3. I could require viewers to sign in with their Fayette County account if I would like. Once I click publish, it's going to say, are you sure? And it's going to give me a new link. So I'm going to test this out. I'm going to open a new incognito window by clicking on the 3 dots in the top right corner and choosing new incognito window. In other words, as we learned from lesson 1, this allows us to open up a window where I'm browsing privately. It's not logged into anybody's account. And if I paste that link in, you can see I only have access to the chart. No tabs at the bottom. So this means I'm only sharing that chart. So just be aware when you're sharing and of all of your sharing options. I have to admit I am not a spreadsheet queen. When it comes to doing formulas and functions, I usually have to Google those every time I'm ready to use one. But Google Sheets has made using functions very easy. Let's say that I wanted to find the average of this class, of these different activities. So to do that, I'm going to just click and hold down on Big Bird's grade, and I'm going to drag across that row. And then I'm going to, I could go to Insert and Function. And notice I have all of these different functions to choose from. And I could say Average. And when I hit Enter or click out, you will see it averaged all of Big Bird's grades for me. I probably could have done that one in my head. Let's try it for Bugs Bunny as well. I'm going to hold down, click, drag across. And this time, I could go to Insert and Function, but now I'm going to try out the shortcut. And click Average, and it held that for me. And so now I can tell that I have my averages going. So I could choose to do this for every single row, but that would be a little tiresome, especially if I had 300 students. Here's a shortcut. If I click on my last cell that I have put the function in, notice I get this blue box in the bottom right hand corner. So if I click and hold on that and just drag down, it's going to copy that function for me and show me all of the averages. So again, I just clicked on the bottom right hand corner and held down and drag, and so it would copy that function in the background of my spreadsheet. I can use this trick for some other things as well. Let's say I wanted to have the days of the week. So I just typed in Monday. If I hold this little square and drag down, it's going to carry on that sequence for me. So just be aware when you're using sequences and numbers, this will do that as well. Functions are very powerful, and I do encourage you to explore more of these as you have free time. Just another quick example, maybe this is how many pennies that your students brought in for a penny drive you were doing, and you just wanted to total them. You could also highlight, click on the functions, and you could add the sum of them as well. So give it a try, see what you can find. Now that we've explored the basics, I just want to show you some fun things, some things that I have stumbled across that have made my life a lot easier as a teacher. Number one is sometimes when I'm looking at a lot of data, let me come back to over here, sometimes my eyes start to blur. So something that just might come in handy is to select my entire chart and click on Format, and I can choose alternating colors. Just a very quick and easy thing to do, but you can see that it just alternates the colors. I could have even picked what those colors were, whichever ones are easier on my eyes. And I just like how this breaks up my page a little bit and lets me see things more clearly. Another thing that I like to do is to use something called Autofill. I get tired of typing the same thing over and over, especially if I have a lot of data. And so notice I have put these drop-down menus inside of these cells. So for this assignment tracker, I have just came in and used a drop-down arrow so that I can now choose just very quickly choose from those. And so I'm going to show you how to set these up. It's pretty easy. I'm just going to select those cells that I want these drop-down arrows to appear. And I'm going to click on Data and Data Validation. There are a couple of different ways that you can do this. I went ahead and selected my cells so it auto-filled the range that I wanted these to appear. And you can do this a number of different ways. Today, the easiest way is to choose List of Items. And I'm just going to type in my items, and they do need to be separated by a comma. Okay, so I've picked 3 things that I want to show in the cell. So I now have a drop-down list. So Math Chapter 2, I've finished it. The Geography, I've started it, but this one I need help with. I love using drop-down menus. It comes in handy. Maybe you're doing picking from different assignments and you want to go ahead and put all of those in. Another thing that I can do is conditional formatting. And I love this. This is fun. So again, I'm going to select the cells that I want this to pop up in, and I'm going to click on Format. And now I am going to choose conditional formatting. And again, you can play with this in so many different ways. Today I'm going to pick Add a Rule. And I want my rule to say if the text contains, and then what is the value? What is it going to contain? And I'm going to say need help. And maybe I want that to turn, it'll pick a default that goes with your theme, but I want it to turn bright red. And so now you can see that if I automatically entered that on a cell, it made it turn red, bright red, so my eyes go straight to it. I've seen teachers use this, and maybe they would use, if the cell is empty, that they want that to turn bright yellow. So maybe you use this on if you've created a grade book and you want all of those missing assignments to stand out to you quickly. So many different ideas for using this. Another favorite trick is to include text boxes, and you can use this in so many different ways. I'm going to just do a quick to-do list. Maybe I need to grade papers, maybe I need to buy milk, and maybe I need to read a book. Okay, so check boxes, simple. Just select the cells you want them to appear in and click Insert and Checkbox. And now these little boxes appear and I can check them or uncheck them. So you can do this as a tracker. Maybe at the beginning of the year you have a list of your students' names with all of the millions of things that they need to turn in to you. Maybe it's AP, maybe it's their bus form, maybe it is their lunch money or lunch application. So I can select my cells, click Insert, check boxes, and now as students turn in that paperwork, I can check them off and quickly see. So remember, today we just covered the very basics of Google Sheets. We have scratched the surface. So I encourage you to play with these tools and also to keep exploring as you start to feel comfortable with them. It's a very powerful tool. If you are interested in taking the Google certification test, don't forget to visit our notebook we're creating as we go. It's at bit.ly/path to GC1. And all of the skills we've covered today are hyperlinked for step-by-step directions. And there's even a practice task that might ask you, that will actually let you walk through a sample of how to mix up all of these skills and create something wonderful. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. We're here, and hope you have a great day.